Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Peter Strong. I'm co-director, co-founder here at Racing Magpie. Really glad you're all here in person and on live on Facebook streaming. Just to tell you, Racing Magpie, we're here to support Lakota artists and Native artists in Western South Dakota and beyond. We operate within the paradigm of the Lakota paradigm of being a good relative, or we strive to do that every day. And today you're here as part of the Winter Camp program, which has been a program we've done since the winter of 2020 when the pandemic started, and we continue to grow it. And it's a program that creates a platform for Lakota and Oceti Shakoni artists, creatives, and culture bearers to share with community to build a stronger community. So with that, today we have Molina Two Bulls here to talk about her artwork and about art in general. And hosting today is my co-director and co-founder, Mary Bordeaux, who's here to have this conversation with Molina. So enjoy and thanks again.
Yay. Thanks, Peter. My name is Mary Bordeaux, and I'm Situngu Oglala Lakota. I'm from Pine Ridge, and as Peter said, I'm co-founder, co-director here at Racing Magpie. I also am an assistant professor at Black Hills State University. And today we're here to have a conversation with Molina Two Bulls, and I'll just let her introduce herself.
My name is Molina Two Bulls. I'm Oglala Lakota and live in Cheyenne, and I'm a bead artist, textile, and quillwork artist out of Red Shirt Table.
Cool. Thanks. So I just wanted to, I was thinking about the questions for today, and I was trying to think like, how do I not be like generic? Like, tell us how you got into beadwork. And but I wonder if you could tell us just a little bit of your history about how you started doing the work that you do. Because you do bead and quill work, and you make dolls. So maybe if you could just do, and you do collaborations with other artists too, but maybe just give us a brief history and then we'll get into the maybe not so generic questions.
Well, I grew up in a household of makers, and my mother was a seamstress. My aunt was a painter. They both still are. And my grandmother did a lot of different things. She beaded, she sewed, crocheted, all the stuff. And so growing up with these women, they always kept their hands busy. And so I just naturally fell into that rhythm with them. So I started at a very young age, started with beading. That was my first love. I spent a lot of time with my grandmother, so she taught me how to sew, crochet, embroider. My mom taught me how to do a lot of beadwork. I've had different mentors throughout the years. Verola Spider taught me how to do quill work, along with Mary Jo LeBeau. And as for doll making, I just kind of fell into it after my grandfather passed away. I needed something different to do with my hands that wasn't all muscle memory. And so I kind of fell into that a few years ago.
Cool. What do you mean by muscle memory?
With beadwork and quill work and things like that, it felt like that's something I could just do. I don't have to think about it. And with sewing, it required using a different part of my brain, I guess. And so it didn't. I could.
Was it like distracting?
Yeah,
right,
it was more of a distraction for me.
And because you had to focus so hard on
Right.
Yeah, putting a doll together, right? Deciding how is it going to work and how this.
There's a lot of trial and error.
Yeah.
It wasn't something I knew how to do, so it was more of like I had to figure it out.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense. So I wanted to ask about quill work, and it's kind of a labor-intensive art form. And I just wonder what drew you to the quill work, and how do you balance that like physical aspect of quill work and the mental demands it comes to like working with quilt, especially quilt work.
I like to put out calls for porcupines on Facebook.
Yeah.
If you see a porcupine, let me know, I'll go pick it up, or if you want to drop it off, that's cool, or I've got, you know, whatever.
Or if you find one.
Yeah, find one, let me know. But it's a long process. You have to let the carcass rot a little bit. And then you go in and start plucking the quills. And usually what you have to do is burn rotting wood to keep the flies away. Once you pluck them, then you have to disinfect, sort by size, then dye, and then the quilling part actually isn't the hard part. It's all of the steps before it. So I could see why when our ancestors had beads, they were like, this is it. So
Yeah.
when you use it, it's easy, it's this color and it's ready.
Yeah.
But I really was always drawn to quill work, and it was such a mystery to me. And I kept, for years, I was asking people to teach me how, but so many people just guarded it. And I feel like as Lakota people, we should be passing these traditions on and teaching more people, because we shouldn't gatekeep these things. We should be passing these on to the next generation so they don't get lost.
Do you think, why do you think people hang on to that information and have a hard time like passing it on or over even? Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm sure it's a way to keep some sort of. Good question. To think about that.
Okay. Well, I just want, sometimes I think maybe people are afraid, right, to be judged about how they do something, because I think sometimes in our community we can really hold people like to what we understand as the standards. So we're like, oh, that's not how you do that, or that's not how I read that was supposed to happen. And we tend to forget like that each family or community may do something a little bit different. And sometimes I feel like when you're like, oh, that's not how you clean a porcupine quills, or that's not how you take them off the porcupine, that we feel like we're being like chewed out a little bit and not being not sharing the information. So then, right, so then you hang on to the information because you're like afraid to get chewed out maybe. Or you feel like you're not a good teacher. So I just wondered, do you feel that way too when you like when somebody asks you to teach them how to do something? Do you sometimes feel nervous about like, oh, they might judge me in a certain way? Or
I get excited to teach people, because especially beadwork, because I've been beading for so long now. I'm 42, so I've been beading for at least 37 years. And so I know what works. I know how to loom, peyote, like all the beadwork stitches I know how to use. I know what materials work best. And so when I get someone that I could teach, it's nice to show them the good materials that they could start using now, rather than going through all of the trial and error that I've been through throughout these years. It's, I don't know, I think that's why it's good to keep teaching people how to do these things and keep these. I just get tired of the gatekeeping.
I think sometimes it's hard to know too who to trust, and you don't want to feel like exploited either. You know. So. Okay, so I wondered. So I think and we've been kind of talking about this, but beadwork and quill work kind of carry a lot of cultural weight. And I wonder how you decide to like adhere to traditions versus creating something that feels like more modern and like wholly from today and from you, and not like I don't know, I don't want to say stuck in the past, but that is like a yeah, that adheres to like it's like really stuck to traditions, you know. How do you decide like where you're like getting away from being Lakota, or yeah, does that make sense?
I think I know what you're saying. I think for more traditional pieces, I
Mhm.
strive to make those for family and friends and not for sale. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, well, or how do you, when you make designs or you
Mm.
decide to make something, how do you decide like? How do you make sure that you feel like it's still Lakota? And based in, because I feel like you work from this place of being Lakota. And how do you make sure you feel like it's still Lakota and not being like transformed? Because you're using like a Dremel to like sand your dentilium. Does that feel okay to you, or does that feel like, oh, I'm cheating a little bit? Because our ancestors didn't have a Dremel, right?
Yeah.
Do you know, does that
Yeah.
make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how do you decide like what is like too far or what is like, okay. And then maybe being like still too stuck in like the past, maybe.
I think people can get too hung up on what we had back then versus what we have now. We have PPE now, we have drills, we have lights,
Yeah.
like I'm gonna use it. I'm
Yeah.
gonna work at night. I'm gonna
Yeah.
use the Dremel. I'm going to use needles.
I'm gonna use
and
that
thread.
magnifying glass.
I'm gonna wear my glasses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's fun. And I think if you get too hung up on that, I mean, this is how we adapt, we move forward. It's a continuum. This is how we should be. This is how our ancestors want us to be, right? They don't want us to be living in a teepee in a 10-degree day.
Yeah.
They would love to see us chilling
And
in the
that's-
house where it's warm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think like historically, Lakota people were always adaptive, right? They
Yes.
adapted to their environment.
Mhm.
And we're always eager to embrace not an easy life, but when something wasn't so hard, right? Because life is hard enough, right? So why continue to make it harder?
Yeah.
Like I could imagine when they first saw a metal needle was handed to them,
Yeah.
and they were like, I don't have to like make it out of a bone, you know? Like that's kind of cool, you know? Or a spool of cotton thread, you
I
know?
don't have to roll my sinew.
Yeah. Or get a buffalo to get sinew. I mean, I don't know. I just think, you know, where they're like, oh yeah, these things can help us in our lives to be
Yeah.
better. Yeah. Do you feel like, so thinking about like cultural and personal context, like, do you feel like your art connects you to our ancestors or specific moments in history? And how does that maybe that connection manifest in your work?
I know that art heals because when I lost the most important person in my life, which was my grandmother, I didn't realize it at the time, but I started creating all of these pieces that reminded me of her. And even when I lost my grandfather, I did the same thing. And so, what was the question?
That's okay. Just how does your art connect you with our ancestors, right? Or your ancestors?
Yeah, and so I think that's a nice way of putting it. Like, I think I put some of their memories or like my thoughts about them into those pieces.
Do you how do you navigate like expectations or assumptions that people might have about what Lakota art should look like, especially as a Lakota woman?
I think that's hard because especially as Lakota women, we're not seen as artists, especially in the field or in the art form that I chose. It's seen as craft and maybe lesser than someone who does painting or printmaking or whatever it may be. But I think it's important to hold that space and to show, especially this next generation, that we belong here too. Our art form is just as important. And when you go to those national archives and those major museums, it's females. It's our art form that's in these museums. It's not the men.
Or there's little of the mentor,
Just a
yeah.
little bit.
Cause it's there, it's just to say,
Yeah.
it's there. But it's primarily, right, like the clothing, the bead, moccasins, different kinds of clothing, dolls, toys, right? All of those things
Our tools.
our tools are all made by the teepees, right? They were all made by women
Yeah.
and decorated by women, right? And men, yeah, so.
And there's men that do our art form too, that are more celebrated than the women, which I find interesting. Because I know as women, and especially me, I stay at home, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I take care of my mom too, from time to time, and we struggle to find time or to carve out time for our art form, and I think it's easier for the men, maybe because they don't have as much time devoted to the family as we do. So they have more time in the studio to
Like develop,
yeah.
and maybe they don't have the same mental load, maybe that you, as with moms too, especially, right, mothers, have. So how do you balance that, being a mom and a daughter and a wife, like with all these responsibilities, obligations?
I think you stay tired.
You stay tired. You're like, I'm just gonna be tired forever.
Crabby every day. Looking at my daughter.
Yeah. There's that meme that's like, when I saw my mom being crabby all the time, and I couldn't understand why, and now look at me, crabby junior, like, oh, I get it. Yeah. So you don't think it's balanced? Like you're not balancing it, you're just gonna be tired?
No, I stay tired.
You just stay
Yeah,
tired.
because there's times when she'll go to bed and then I'll be in the studio until 2 or 3 in the morning.
And then you gotta get up
And then I'm up at 7
to get her to school.
get her ready for school.
Yeah. Then run your mom to the
Yeah.
land office, Yeah.
Yeah.
All those things. Yeah.
Start over again.
Do you think, what do you think then you need? How could organizations or places like Racing Magpie, how could we help like balance that for mothers or women artists that are caring for family and have all these responsibilities and carrying so much mental load? I wonder, what are some of the things that you think would help or would help you?
It always boils down to money, because I think, especially for a lot of artists, we're always working to pay our bills, like immediate bills. And so we get caught up in that. So these pieces we dream about making always get pushed to the side because we have immediate things that we have to take care of.
Like
So,
the light bill.
Like the light bill,
Or groceries.
gas money.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so these projects that are always in my mind that I want to do, they don't take precedent right away. So I think that's why a lot of people don't, like, especially females, don't get to work on these bigger pieces until maybe their kids are grown, when their responsibilities start to shrink.
Yeah.
I was just looking at a piece that Terry Greaves did, and it was like 8 feet tall.
Oh, yeah.
And her kids are grown now, and I thought, see,
Yeah. Now she has the
now she
capacity.
has the capacity.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah, I did see that piece. Is it at Denver?
Denver.
Yeah, I want to go see it.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about your dolls. Do you see your dolls as more than like just objects? And perhaps like little ambassadors for you? Or and do you feel like they carry like energy and purpose? That's kind of two questions.
As a little dancer, I wanted like all the regalia. I wanted everything, and I didn't have fully beaded everything. I had everything, but just not fully beaded. And so when I make these dolls, I want them to be decked out. I want them to have every little piece that I didn't have. to that extreme. And I want them to wear earrings that like I make now or that I'm known for.
Mhm.
And I just kind of want them to be so extra.
Yeah.
So me. I really love them. I have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think they're like ambassadors for your work then? Like they're like out there
They-
telling people
Yeah,
about
they're
themselves?
like my little models.
Yeah. Just in miniature form, yeah.
Someone asked me, why do they all look mean? And so I had to think about it. And I was like, well, I guess I kind of model them off of like me and my friend. So maybe we look mean. Or maybe we look like we're, I don't know.
We're crabby because
we're
we're
crabby.
we're tired. Just kidding. It's hard being a woman. It's also very fun.
Yeah.
Okay. So you feel like your work kind of carries that energy and purpose from yourself, like you're kind of putting it into these dolls.
I hope
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did a doll recently that's on display at the Indiana University at the archaeology. And I made her to look like my grandma when she was young.
Mhm.
And my grandma had style. And someone said she looks like our friend Bernie McDonald.
Oh
And
yeah.
I thought, oh, maybe that's why I like her.
Yeah.
This chick has style.
Yeah.
You know?
She does. She's eye looking fly.
Yeah.
Like, all right, Brandy.
And you know, I see these hipsters walking around and I think, oh, my grandma, you know, rocked that kind of stuff back in the 50s and 60s. Or like,
Yeah.
my uncles.
Yeah.
We've always, like you always say, we've always been on the cutting edge of like what cool hipsters wear now.
Well, and I think some of that though is not because we're like trying to be cool or hip, it's just what we have access to, right? I always think about I had just got glasses that we used to get and they're like all the things, I mean, similar to what I have on. They're like the thing, but you're like, I had to just wear those because that's all I had access to, you know. They're like old school heavy glasses.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, have there been like moments when your art has challenged or surprised you? Revealing something that you didn't expect? And maybe especially related to the dolls, because there's like such a new a recent practice.
I think there was a lot of, I did get some pushback because it didn't look like traditional, or they don't look like what you see in the archives. And that's not what I was trying to do. I'm not trying to make dolls that were made in the 1800s. I mean, clearly, it's in that same continuum, right? I'm making dolls that I like,
That represent you.
that represent me and what I do. I'm not trying to recreate. I mean, why would I want to copy something that somebody made 200 years ago? That's easy. It's easy to copy work.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
So that kind of relates then back to that question about that, how you balance between historical art, because their work is based in that, right? Like you said, it's part of this continuum, but balancing that with like your more modern take on things and making sure it's still like Lakota,
Yeah.
right? Like it's still Lakota, the values are still there, right?
Yeah. And that's something going to art school taught me, is that it's so easy to copy the masters. Like anyone can do it, really. But making sure your own voice shines through is what's key. And so I try to do that with all of my pieces, like even with my color choices.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't have a lot of pinks and purples and yellows.
Neons.
Yeah, neons. I mean, and black. I clearly like to use blacks and
Yeah, obviously.
bright colors.
I like your green one there too. It's funny, my uncle John Golden Center, he says he just hopes that he creates work that our ancestors will recognize. And I was like, dang, that's so profound. Because it speaks to this progression, that we're still moving forward, we're still adapting and growing,
Yeah.
but we're still based in this like the cultural values of who we are as Lakota people.
Yeah.
And I just think, yeah, if my like an ancestor came and saw like your cuff or some of your earrings, or I don't have your earrings on today, but or like my uncle's bracelet, you have it on. But that, oh, and his ring, oh yeah, I have his ring on too. But that when if they came and they saw it, they would be like, oh yeah, that was made by a Lakota person, right? Is that, feel like that's kind of what you strive for,
Yeah.
is to know that our ancestors would recognize it, but
That's a
still
great way
be,
of putting it, yeah.
but still be your own
Mhm.
work, right?
Because a lot of my work still has a lot of Lakota symbology and imagery, but in a different way. It doesn't mean the same thing as it did back then. But and people have asked me before to use other tribal symbology and imagery, and I just can't do it. That's not who I am.
Right, yeah, just feels not right.
It doesn't feel right because I don't know the meanings behind it.
Yeah. That makes sense. So in what ways do you see your work impacting younger Lakota artists and then the broader community?
I like to get her reaction because I was working on some dolls
Her,
last
maybe
night. My daughter's
your daughter,
reaction,
yeah.
Because she's a harsh critic already.
Yeah, that's
She is.
good. Well, and you're her mom, so she's gonna be like, let's see how critical I can be.
So she was moving things around and picking out fabrics to make things I would not put together.
Yeah.
And I thought, okay. I may not, I still don't quite get it, but I listen to her.
You try it.
I'm trying.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to ask I have two sons, I have to ask them,
Yeah.
does this outfit look okay? And they'll be like, no.
Yeah.
Like, it looks like you are looking like this,
Yeah.
the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. And I'm like, okay, not gonna wear that today.
You're the harshest critic.
Yeah, but they're so honest, and
Yeah.
because you're their parent, they're like even more honest, like so brutal. Like, my goodness. What about how do you think your work impacts like the broader community? Or how do you want it to impact? Maybe that's.
I hope I inspire more people to work with their hands. Even if you're not good at it. It's important to, my grandma always used to say to keep your hands busy, and I never really understood it. Maybe until COVID hit. It's a good way to recenter yourself and to think. And I really got into more podcasts and listening to music, and I feel better when I create, and I hope more people do.
Yeah.
So you see a lot of people losing hope, and especially in our area, and I think that's what's missing.
Yeah, and that's that keeping your hands busy. I think it's part of that distraction, like you were talking about when you started creating the dolls, just to give your mind something else to think about, and not think about the thing that's like that's really weighing on you. Giving you the time and space to like process, right?
Yeah, and even if it's not art, maybe gardening.
Yeah. My mom makes bread. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's labor intensive. Like it takes time, right, to make a loaf of bread. So.
Something.
I clean the bathroom. It also gives me something to feel accomplished about.
Yes.
Especially when I feel like I just can't get anything done.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what's the one thing I can accomplish? Let's clean the bathroom from top to bottom.
Some of my favorite gifts have been homemade gifts.
Oh, yeah.
I always think about this quilt my mom made me when I turned 21. It was handprints of all of the women that raised me. I know.
Do you cry when you use it? I would.
The jewels and rings and things on it. It was really beautiful. It is.
That's so cool. My aunt made a quilt out of jeans, a star quilt, like old jeans. She took the jeans apart and made a big star quilt.
That sounds cool.
Out of she has 3 sons out of all their jeans. Cool. Do you feel a sense of responsibility when your work enters space outside of Lakota communities, like galleries or museums? Do you feel a sense of like responsibility that you're representing Lakota, like all of us, you know?
Well, I just had my first exhibit outside of our community, and I'm still not sure how to process it. It was a very good experience. But I mean, there's a whole lot of like teaching involved in it that is still, I guess I feel resentful about having to teach people about. Because they have I mean, you have to start from zero, as you know.
They call it Indian 101.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't live in a teepee.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, we can have short hair. That's mine. I have to tell people, yes, I can have short hair. It's okay.
Yes, we come in different colors.
Yes, Mary is my real name. Yes, Molina is my real name. Yes, it's Bordeaux because of fur traders, you know. All the
Yeah.
yeah, you have to start from like the very
zero.
yeah, like okay. And then there's this thing called treaties, you know. You have to say all these things before you can even talk about your art. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Come on. And you hope, right? Though you hope that that there are some people that have come up with us along the way, right? And have some understanding. Yeah.
It doesn't
And
seem-
I know, but they're out there. I just want to say too, you said this is the first time you've exhibited outside of our community.
I think so.
And I just want to say that you have had articles in like Vogue. And while that may not be like a physical exhibition outside of the community, I mean, Vogue is a pretty big magazine and they have a pretty big platform. And I think plenty of people have, I mean, you're showing your work outside of our community. So so just don't sell yourself short, ma'am.
I will say about that article though, it's really, I mean, I cried real tears when I saw Red Shirt South Dakota on there.
Yeah.
Because
And
we have
Vogue,
so many talented people in our community. I was like, I wish we could all be in there.
yeah,
You know?
just saying.
I'm just saying.
Just
I didn't think you were gonna make me cry today.
Oh, sorry. I'm trying not to make you cry. Don't talk about those things. So then based on that, what conversations do you hope to spark from your work outside of like, and I guess, yeah, what conversations do you hope to start with your art?
Well, the importance of keeping it in school.
Mm.
I did art classes with my daughter's class last year and some kindergartners, and I miss it. But our schools don't have it in their curriculum, and they get it maybe once a week if they're lucky. And for me, coming up in the Rapid City School District, it was such a foundational part of who I am. Like it's intrinsically in me, right? I always had art classes. And then my mom took me to outside art classes at the Doll and wherever, like wherever she could get us in, we had art classes. And it just seems like such a disservice to everybody to not have that.
Yeah.
To at least experience different mediums and try out what you might like.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, even if you're not good, just to at least try.
Yeah.
I'm just so passionate about it. I think everyone should.
And then outside, so then the broader community, so like your doll at the museum at Indiana University, what conversations do you hope that will start with? That when people see it, what do you hope they gain from your work?
Hopefully they start asking questions and hopefully they do start to look into our history and why our art is still important and why our stories are still important.
It's so I'm an assistant professor at Black Hill State and I'm teaching Native art history this semester. And last semester I did teach an intro to visual arts. Essentially was intro to visual arts of Western art, so about European art. So there was a lot of religious foundations to the work and but there's in the book that I'm using for the art history, for the native art history, there's a line in there about in the mid 1800s, there was a philosopher who said that art was about that anytime art became utilitarian or useful, it was no longer art and it was a craft. And I was like, dang, that's like the basis for all Native people's art.
Yeah.
Any indigenous group, right? It's the basic, like, and then that's what everyone built on was this idea that if your art became useful, then it's not art. It's not a fine art, right? It's a craft art, but yeah. So I think I hope people see your work and understand that adornment and dolls and can be seen and hold up in fine art spaces, right?
Yeah.
Even though I can wear it, I can use it, right? Or it could be played with. It doesn't make it any less of a fine art.
No.
Because just as much thought goes into it as fine artists did.
I had a conversation with a jeweler, Carrie Atombi, and we were talking about how she does mostly like metal work, so silver, gold, diamonds, whatever. And she was saying that she feels like quill work and beadwork and jewelry like that is just as valuable as what she does, if not more. And that really stuck to me because I thought, it is, it's true. Because we put the same amount of effort into it. But metals are somehow considered more precious.
Yeah.
But I agree that when I wear my beads or when I wear my quills, I feel protected.
Yeah.
Or I feel cool.
Yeah. You feel bougie like your dolls.
Ask me about my earrings.
Yeah, yeah, for real. Yeah. You're all, ask me who made them.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that these are baleen and ivory,
Right?
Yeah. These are from Alaska. They're baleen. Do you know what baleen is? Took me a long time to figure out what it is, but now I know. But yes, you want people, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, can you see my ring?
Yeah.
Do you see this? Ask me about it. I'll tell you all about it. It's so good.
We don't wear these for nothing.
Yeah. Give you a whole history lesson. Is there any like specific techniques or mediums that you've been wanting to explore and maybe haven't yet, and maybe and why, and then
There's a couple. I bought all the supplies for these things, but I haven't had the time. I want to do woodworking.
oh yeah,
I have a glow forge that I haven't touched in 60 years.
so many years.
So many years. And I want to sew more. Really desperately want to sew more. And I want to quilt more. Just don't have time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hard to do it all,
it is.
especially when you're running around from school powwow to school powwow,
To basketball,
to basketball, volleyball, championship games. Are there pieces that you've made that you feel like are still teaching you something?
I did this really cool neck piece. I think it was in 2019. I called it Say What?
Say what?
Say what? It was this really cool, it almost looked like embroidery. It had a blue background, it had flowers, and it had buffalo tracks running up either side.
Oh yeah, I remember. And Dentillion. Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember I finished it and I entered in the show and I felt so confident about it because I used these like micro beads and it took me a month to make, and I thought, this is gonna get me some recognition. I'm gonna get so many awards, and I didn't get any awards.
Nothing.
I didn't get any kind of praise for it. And I remember it humbled my
It was all Molina, sit down.
Oh, okay.
Oh, man, that's crazy.
It was something that I felt so passionate about, could humble me so profoundly. It did end up going to the Oglala Lakota. And so I thought, oh my gosh, they have to have it out on the floor. It's so, and then so I went and looked, they don't have it out.
It's in storage probably.
So I got humbled again.
Oh, man, this piece.
So I kept thinking, when did they sell it back to me? It's my one piece I wish I had just held on to, but when they purchased it, I was actually able to buy a car for the family.
Oh, that's good.
So,
Oh my gosh, that's so funny though. Oh, that's a nice piece too. I like that. I love that one too. Well, okay, so we'll wrap up. But we've been on for a little bit, but maybe if there are a few questions in the audience, we can do those and then I'll have one last question after the folks in the audience, if you have anything to ask.
Whenever you started making your dolls, like nowadays we have like social media and TikTok and Instagram, like you said that you kind of took on something that you wanted to do different. What did you use to reference your dolls? Like, did you have other dolls to reference, or did you just kind of need it?
well, my cousin Jean Solo is a doll artist.
Oh.
Oh my God, he does these really cool, like, I have a skunk and a toad and buffaloes and like all these dolls from him. And he told me to just start drafting patterns. And so I did, and the first couple dolls did not turn out okay. And I didn't show anybody.
Humbled again.
And he kept telling me to just keep trying, and I thought, I'm never gonna get this. But yeah, I kept trying, and then I actually ended up buying a pattern off of Etsy, and I realized what I was doing wrong. But from that pattern, I was able to draft better patterns from there. So that's what it took. It's a very humbling experience.
So teaching you still.
It was still teaching, yeah.
Are there any other questions? From folks? No. Are there any projects you have coming up or work that you're excited about for the future?
Well, the Heritage Center is opening up a new
Building? Right?
building, yeah. And I'm kind of excited for that, so I thought I'd do dolls for that.
Mhm.
They're gonna be weird.
Oh, yeah, we like weird.
So I'm kind of excited I started them and I'm excited to get them.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be kind of cool.
Is the art show this year gonna be in the new building?
That's what I heard.
Oh,
So I'm
cool.
excited to. And I don't know if I'll have social media then.
Oh, yeah. Well, you'll have a website.
I'll have a website.
There was another question?
I was wondering if you have struggles like staying on one project, or do you start multiple?
Well, I brought some of my dolls, they're all in different stages.
Oh,
So yeah, I have a studio I bought during the height of COVID. And I think I counted 40 projects. They're different beadwork, quillwork, dolls, like quilts. Yeah, it's manic.
Yeah, I'm thinking there too, so.
Like maybe there's something undiagnosed. Or maybe that's just being creative. I don't know.
Maybe you're just staying busy.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing.
Yeah.
Just keeping it fresh too.
Mhm.
You're like, oh, I'll work on this one today and that one tomorrow.
But it's funny when I have a deadline or if I need something done, I'll be like, oh, I know this is almost done. I can finish that. And then you get it done in no time. Like, God.
You're like, why didn't you just finish it?
finish it? Constantly.
Yeah. So, anything else for the future or that's coming up? Thing you're working on?
Other than those weird dolls, no.
No? Okay. I'm excited about the weird dolls.
Me too.
We'll see.
And we have a lot of comments on Facebook, people, and this is going back to the beginning, someone said, stay tired is so real.
Yeah.
And that needs to be on a t-shirt.
Yes, stay tired. Need cuffs.
Team stay tired. Elena said, team stay tired. That's not how I want to live. How can we change this? Someone said a Jean Star quilt.
Yeah.
Vogue is one of the highest honors. You're amazing and so inspirational, Molina. I love Molina's work. I love her dolls. Good interview. So there's a lot of folks chiming
Thank
in.
you.
Thank you so much. Yeah. I think that's, do you have anything else you want to share? Is there something I didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about?
I don't know, maybe Bobby has a question.
No, he doesn't have a question.
No.
She's like, God, Mom. This is why she gives you a hard time. My mom always put me on the spot. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, to make it as an artist, you don't need to be, like, you don't have to be the Swaya artist. You don't have to be whatever. You could just do it.
Mhm.
I always thought that there was only one road to be a successful artist. And then coming from the Institute of American Indian Arts, I really thought that was the only way. And that's expensive. I mean, booth fees are expensive, and you have to counter in hotel and everything that goes into it. You could just stay at home. You could be an artist from your home. You could be successful doing it too.
Yeah.
I've found more happiness not doing those shows. It's cutthroat, it's hard. There's a lot of competition. You'll make enemies you didn't know that were out there. I didn't realize how hard it was to be a big market artist. And it's not for me. It wasn't good for my mental health to be out there all the time.
Yeah.
And I love being at home. I love being in my home community. I love the local art scene. I do like to travel. I do love going to Indian market. I just don't like participating.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure.
It's so much pressure. It's so much pressure to recoup that money too. I think if that's something you want to do, that's great, but it's not for everybody. So just figure out what works. It was a hard lesson for me to learn.
What's it's good advice to say, just saying that you can be an artist wherever, however, right? You don't even have to sell your work to be an artist.
And you don't have to go to art school.
Yeah, you don't have to go to art school.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I did
Made
meet a
some
lot
good
of
friends.
great people.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
met my husband there.
Now you have Bobby.
Now I have
Great.
Bobby.
To roast you every day.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I think I will say, I think it's important to make things for the people you love. When you work with your hands, it's always important to give things to those people, because I think about all of the things that my grandma made or whomever in my family, and I didn't get to keep those things.
Mhm.
And I always wish I had.
Yeah.
So just treasuring the people that you love.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you. Yes. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being online with us today too. We really appreciate it. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Thank
Cool.
you.